You're on. All right, I think we're all set.
Hello, everybody. We're back for our second clinic video. I'm Chuck Eakes. Quinn Morris is back with us. Gerald Moore is back with us. And we're privileged to have Renee Rector with us tonight on the panel. So we've got two topics to discuss. The first is active shooting. And the second will be freedom of movement. And Quinn, when you're ready, we'll move right into the first clip on active shooting. Renee, we're going to discuss this play on this shot as if a foul has occurred over here on the sideline. Whether or not a foul occurred, we don't really know, but it looks like maybe it did. So let's pretend like it did, and you take it from there, Renee.
Okay. So in this particular play, the official obviously deems the shooter had returned to the court. So we're just going to assume that the basket was unsuccessful or successful. Okay. So remember, when a shooter is in the act of shooting, we must protect them back down to the floor until 1 foot returns to the floor. If this try is successful, all right, we would count the 3-pointer. Foul would be on white 32. We would signal a 3-pointer. All right. And then we would shoot 3. If we're in the bonus, all right, 1 and 1 or 2, we would then shoot those free throws as well, all right, making this a possible 5-point play. If we do deem that this is possibly a 5-point play, whoever the calling official is needs to be prepared to talk to the coach and explain what you had on this particular play, okay? Say if the basket was not successful, all right, it also depends whether we're in the bonus 1 and 1 or 2, or we would just place the ball out where the foul occurred.
Very good. So just to be clear on this, what we're pointing out here is, even though that ball was still in the air when contact occurred, if that shooter has returned to the floor when the contact occurs, even if it's just 1 foot, if that shooter has clearly returned to the floor when the contact occurred while the ball is still in the air, we're no longer in the act of shooting. It would be deemed a foul on the floor. You would count the basket because it went in, and then administer it depending on whether blue is in the bonus or not. If they're in the bonus, they're going to shoot 1 and 1 or 2. If they're not in the bonus, they're going to count the basket and go to get a throw in. If the shot was not successful, we got the same result. You're not in the act of shooting. You're going to go 1 and 1 or 2, or a sideline throw in if they're not in the bonus. Don't split hairs on this. As Renee just indicated, if that shot went in, so if you're going to rule that that player has returned to the floor and then was fouled, and we're in the double bonus, you're going to have a 3-point shot ruled successful, and then we're going to send them to the free throw line to shoot 2 more. We've got a possible 5-point play there, and a coach is probably going to go a little bit haywire, which we need to be prepared for. I'm not saying, take the easy way out. I'm saying don't split hairs. Everybody agree with that?
Yes.
Definitely.
All right. Very good, Renee. Let's talk a little bit about the coverage on this play, Quinn, with the what I thought was the trail official, but it's actually the slot official. Go ahead.
I think as we're looking at this, I think if I remember this play in context correctly, I think we've just had a rotation, which is part of the reason you see this official coming out very quickly. But in any event, not necessarily an ideal position for our slot to be in general, but it is where he is. Most importantly, what we want to remind ourselves of here is that if you're the covering official on a jump shot, you got to take that player all the way up and all the way down. And particularly on this play where, the pass is over here, this player comes closing out from the free throw line. She's quite late. There's no way she's really going to get there to block the shot. So especially on those late closeouts, we've got to make sure we watch all the way up, all the way down before, certainly we don't want to follow the flight of the ball. But also I think there can be a temptation. So if we sort of watch this play, there's also a matchup right here that's going to be a potential rebounding matchup if this shot comes off. And so I think there's a temptation sometimes, even if we're not following the ball, to release to try and get to that rebounding matchup. In this case, that's where we've got two other officials on the court we've got to trust to help us out with the coverage on that. And we have to take that shooter all the way up and all the way down, because if we miss an obvious foul there because we leave early, everybody else in the gym is going to see it. So we've really got, and just from a player safety perspective, we don't want people closing out on airborne shooters and taking them to the floor.
That's good. Gerald, before you talk about the lead official very briefly, let me make a comment that we did not rehearse. And if the panel disagrees with me, just say so very quickly. But I don't think that the coverage by the new trail, the guy at the top of our screen, Quinn, if you put your cursor on him, yeah, him. I think he ball watches this entire play. I think we have convoluted coverage on this entire play. If you watch when he first goes back out, he's refereeing across the floor. I think we have two officials refereeing the ball handler here. And then when the pass is made, I believe he follows the pass.
I agree with that. I mean, I think the issue here, and we talk about referee, we're refereeing as a team, and you've got to recognize as the trail, regardless of what, the fact that you're officially the trail here, your partner, that plays right in your partner's lap. Your partner's looking right at that play, and where the trail can help out now is off ball down here. And particularly by the time the ball gets in the corner, I mean, the trail is the one who could help referee this rebound if we have one, who could see that whole play start, develop, and finish.
And I don't think he's refereeing that matchup at all. I think he's looking across the floor. If he's looking across, if we're in that situation and we're looking across the floor at that play, we're looking in the wrong place. Gerald, am I off base here, or do you agree?
No, I totally agree. We definitely don't need the trail watching a jump shot across the court in the corner.
All right, you want to talk about the lead here just briefly? Quinn?
Yes. If you can see the lead, I don't know if you can or not. The lead is in the middle of a rotation right as the shot go up, but he does the correct thing. He backs out as the ball is released, and he gets back into rebounding position. That's what we want. We do not want you to continue your rotation once the shot is in the air. Just back out and just get in rebounding position. Excellent job by the lead.
Very good. Nothing else. We'll go to clip 2. Gerald, what do you got?
Let's go back to the beginning of this play. Let's look at right here. Let's stop it right here. And let's look at the court coverage first. Everybody's in pretty good position. The lead is wide enough where he can see the movement in the paint. The trail is in great position to see the cutters, the slot. This is actually slot's primary is on the slot side of the lane line. So everybody's in good position to start off this play. But let's see what happens once the ball goes to the basket. Right here, if ball goes to the basket, we have a double whistle on this play. Let's remember, we're going to run it back. We're going to stop it right at the foul. Right here. Ball goes to the basket. Ball leaves the trail and goes to the basket. Let's remember, guys, the ball is going away from the trail. So the trail is seeing nothing but backs, okay? So if the ball is going away from you, that means that it's opening it up to somebody else, your partner, who has an excellent look, and which is the slot official. Slot official has an excellent look on this play. He calls a foul, right call. We don't need a whistle from the trail on this play. Let's just keep that in mind, guys. Going away from you, let's lay off of those plays because it's opening up to your partners.
Okay. Renee, you're up. What we have here is the foul is being called on number 2 by the slot, and the slot official is going to take this call, but he rules that the offensive player is not in the act of shooting when this foul occurs.
Okay. We have to remember that the act of shooting begins simultaneously with the start of a try. The try starts when the player begins motion, which is habitually proceeds to release the ball. So when in doubt, we always want to give them two. But if we look closely at this play, especially at the replay, you can see, all right, the defender, I mean, the offender takes a look, peek at the basket. All right, he doesn't have to be facing the basket for it to be an actual try. Okay, so we have to remember he does not have to be facing, but he takes a peek. He's then fouled. All right, and we basically put him to the floor when he should be shooting two here.
Quick discussion, commentary, Quinn, on what if you were in that crew and you had a good enough look at this play to believe that the number two is in the act of shooting when you see C put the slot official putting the ball, indicating that it's on the floor. What would you do in that situation?
I'm coming to slot to let him know that. And that information's, he can do with that what he wants. I mean, you know, he may say, you know, I hear what you're saying, but I had a great look at it and it's absolutely not. But so ultimately it's slot's decision. But if any of us have information on that play, we've got to take it to the slot. That information does us too often. We go back to the locker room and somebody says, "Oh yeah, I thought he was in the act of shooting." Well, that doesn't do us any good. Better to share that information there on the court and let the slot decide what he wants to do with it.
If you would, and we didn't rehearse this either, but if you would go back to the beginning of this play, I want to look at the screen that is set down low, just very, very quickly down. Yeah, right there, right there. That screen by number, yeah, right there. That screen's ugly. That's not a good screen, but it's not illegal because there's no contact on the play. Everything else about that screen was awful, but there's no contact on the play. In order to have a foul in basketball, it's fundamental rule. You got to have contact. The only exception are some non-contact technical fouls that can be called, but other than that, there has to be contact. I would, however, say that screen was so ugly that if you're in the crew and you have a look at that screen, there is no reason in the world why you can't say something to that screener as you're coming up the floor, the next opportunity, dead ball, whatever, say, hey, dude, we need to set better screens than that tonight. He's too wide. He's throwing his elbow out. He's too late. Everything about that screen was awful. Next.
Hey, Chuck, before you go anywhere, Quinn made a great point about your partner is coming to help you out on whether or not it was a shooting foul or not. Let's make sure we go and we use the right words when we go to our partner. We don't want to go and say, I think he was shooting. If you're going to go and give information, to say, I had number 2 blue definitely shooting the basketball.
That's a great point. Quick comment as we move into the freedom of movement topic on off-ball foul. Remember, during a shot attempt, remember the act of shooting and continuous motion apply when a defender commits an off-ball foul during a shot attempt. So if A1 is in the act of shooting, when a defender fouls A2, the goal will count if the ball goes in, even if the ball was still in A1's hand when the foul occurs. Defender fouls A2 while A1 is in the act of shooting, but the ball hadn't left A1's hand when the foul occurs. It then leaves his hand, goes in the basket. That's continuous motion. It applies in that situation. And if the ball goes in the basket, you're going to count it and then penalize the off-ball foul. However, if A1 is in the act of shooting, when his teammate commits, or her teammate commits an off-ball foul, we've got a different situation. If the ball in that situation is still in the shooter's hand when his teammate commits the off-ball foul, you can't count the basket if it goes in. If it's been released when the foul occurs, then you would count the basket. If that's confusing to you, go back and listen to what I just said 3 or 4 times, or go read it. The biggest point I'm making here is when you blow your whistle to call something off ball, we have got to know where the ball is at that moment. We have to know. Nobody else in the crew, when you call an off ball foul, is going to, if they're refereeing correctly, is going to know when you called your foul or even who you called your foul on, because they're refereeing something else. So it's all on you. It's all on us. When we call something off ball, we have got to know, everything about that situation, including, most importantly, where is the ball when I'm blowing my whistle? Okay?
And
We move on.
there have been and continue to be a number of excellent casebook plays which cover those scenarios as well. So
First freedom of movement clip, Renee is going to
I
give
think
us.
I think we have one more active shooting clip.
I thought we decided to get rid of it.
We had 4 and we cut 1 and we're down to 3 now.
Yes. And we just did the third one.
We did the second one.
Ah, you're right. I'm sorry. So you'll be able to edit this, Quinn?
You want me to just cut this out?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. I think this is Renee's.
Yes.
So here we have a similar play to clip 1, but the contact to the offender is made while the shooter is airborne. So if we refer to rule 4, section 1, a airborne shooter continues to be in the act of shooting until 1 foot returns to the floor. So as we watch it again, we see the shooter's up. He's contacted before he returns to the floor. A lot of times as officials, we miss this due to following the ball. So officials, we have to stay engaged until that shooter returns to the floor.
Very good. Gerald?
Yeah, I'm just going to comment real quick on positioning and coverage. Right here, as the ball comes up the court, the trail official, great job of handing the ball off to the slot official, who's in great position to referee this play as it comes into the front court. As we move along, he's in great position still for the handoff, and then still in great position to see the jump shot. All 3 officials did an excellent job for us positioning on this play.
Very good. Freedom of movement. Renee, you're up.
All right, so on this play, we have the defender who illegally impedes the offender coming up the court. Many times as officials, we see this play, we see the defender has their hands up, we see the offense never loses the ball, so we feel like, hey, it's minimal contact and whatnot, but this is actually a foul, all right? A blocking foul we must call because the motion of the offender was affected by the contact of the defender.
Very good. Next.
Right here, if we go back to the beginning of this play, 11 blue is going to do a handoff pass. Once 11 blue, as we go a little further, once 11 blue hand this ball off to a teammate, she becomes a screener and must follow all screening guidelines. She runs right into the defender in white. Easy call, legal screen. Remember, you hand the ball off as an offensive player, you must come to a complete stop before making contact. Easy call, legal screen.
I'm not going to even say anything about that. That's so good. Next, Quinn, I think you're up for this clip.
Yep. So here we're gonna have a screen somewhere right around here in just a minute. So right there. Okay, so it's this player right here sets the screen. So what we want to talk about in this clip, they're really, when we talk about screening plays from a rules perspective, there are 2 things we have to take into consideration. The first is, has the player established a legal guarding position? And then once they've established a legal guarding position, have they maintained a legal guarding position? Now, establishing a legal guarding position is harder than maintaining a legal guarding position.
You mean legal screening position, right?
Sorry, legal screening position. Sorry.
That's all right.
So to establish a legal screening position, The screener can be facing any direction they want, but time and distance are relevant. If the screener has to be stationary, except when both the screener and their opponent are moving in the same path and direction. The screener has to stay within their own vertical plane. So no sticking a leg out in front of you, and also with a stance that's approximately shoulder width apart. Now, this is not a place where we want to split hairs. You know, if you're going to say that the screen is wide, and we'll see some more plays coming up about this, but if you're going to say it's wide, it better be wide. We don't want to say, oh, it was an inch outside their shoulders. So on this play, if we watch what happens here, okay, so this player is stationary. The defensive player runs into her. Okay, so we don't have this player has done everything right. Has not this is not an illegal screen. I think that's all my notes I had on that particular one.
Excellent. Clip 4, the next clip, I should say.
If we go back to the beginning of this play, right here, if you freeze it right there, Quinn. What we've been taught about as far as refereeing screens is make sure you get enough depth and you get back so you can see not only the screen, but you can see beyond the screen. But now the teaching is most screens now are 2 official plays. So we got to get help from our partners on most screens now. So we're going to focus on the lead and see how can he help his trail on this play. Because if you see the screen is beyond the ball matchup now. So we want the lead to pick up this screen and play right here to help his trail out. And that's what's being taught now. Screens are 2 official plays now. It's not, we don't have a foul here, but it's just a good awareness that we need help on screening plays now.
Very good. Next clip. Renee, I believe you're up.
Yep, I am. All right. So on this play, we have an illegal screen set by Black 5. All right. What makes this screen illegal is the roll. All right. The roll makes this screen illegal. As you see right here, Black 5, all right, impedes White, all right, from getting around him. All right. So the screener rolls into the defender and continues to impede the defender from getting around him. We have to remember that freedom of movement refers to both the offense and defense. All right. So Black 5, all right, is not allowing White his freedom of movement in this particular play. So we have to remember that when also refereeing screening plays.
Very good. Quinn, Gerald, did y'all have a additional commentary on the coverage on this play, or who would pick this up?
I think this play is all trail. The reason why I say all trail, because as number 3 blue comes off the screen and he's at the top of the key, there's not a defender that steps up to number 3 that need the lead's attention, the trail's attention. So he can focus mainly on the screen on this play because there's no pressure on the ball handle.
And then we've just got to be disciplined enough to stay with that play too. I mean, this is not at the immediate point of contact. There's nothing really illegal about this screen. I mean, he's in a good screening position here. The problem is he keeps rolling with them and takes away his freedom of movement. So it's, as Gerald said, the trail's not only got to pick it up, they've got to be disciplined enough to stick with it and recognize that nothing's going to happen to 3. There's no defender there, and 3 is moving away from the trail. By the time he gets to any potential defender, that's really going to be slots play.
Very good. That it, guys, for that one?
Yes.
So
Very good, ladies and gentlemen. Next clip.
here, this is going to be just an obvious illegal screen. So I don't think there's really much to say about the screen here. If we roll it back one more time, the offensive player just sort of throws a shoulder right as the screener comes by. What we want to really emphasize here is this is another really good example of good coverage where the ball is coming up in the backcourt, but it's on C's side. So we can see C has clearly slowed down, has recognized that this play is going to be his when it enters the front court, and is ready to referee not only this matchup, but also is aware of the screener who is coming up behind them. So again, it's an obvious illegal screen, but it's an obvious one that if we don't have good disciplined coverage on that play coming into the front court from the back court, we can miss. The only other thing to say about this though is that once we get right here, the slot has accepted this play. The slot is refereeing this play. The trail at this point probably just needs to hustle to get down here and almost initiate a rotation in a sense. Clearly we have the C has picked this play up. Even if he doesn't do that, we don't need two sets of eyes on the ball. So just making sure not only is the slot prepared to accept that play, but as the trail, once the slot accepts that play, we've got to go and find the next play to referee.
Gerald, should the lead be closed down in this at this point?
Yes, the lead should be closed out on this play when the ball is in the back court coming up the slot side on the sideline. Right now, he should be in close now. We don't want a rotation while the ball is in the back court, but he should definitely be in close now, prepared to rotate when the ball comes across half court.
Excellent. Okay.
All right, so this particular play. On this particular play, we have a screen by White. All right, White 30 established legal screening position. Remember he established. Can we cut that, Quinn?
No, we'll just keep going. We know what you're talking about. So we got a screen by
I thought this was the play that we were going to cut though.
No, this is a different one. This is a different one.
we're
Okay,
good.
all right. Okay, so what we have here is a great screen by White 30. He sets a legal screening position for his screen, takes some contact through from Black, but it's incidental contact, wasn't enough contact to call a foul on Black. So we don't really have much here. It's going to be a very similar play in the next clip that we're going to put it against to explain it better to you guys. But here we just have a great screen set, took it in the chest, took a little incidental contact, and the screener was able to get around.
Wait, if we can go back to the screen right there. If we look at White, I can't see the number right there. White is wide. White is very wide. Let's not concentrate on just White being wide and call a legal screen, because the defender goes right through White's chest. So the wide screen never comes into play. If Blue tried to get around White and ran into his leg, now the wide screen would come into play and we would have an illegal screen. But Blue never tried to get around. He tried to go through. So the wide screen does not come into play on this clip right here.
Very good. Excellent.
That sets us up nicely for the next play.
Right.
All right, so this play, all right, which looks very similar to the last play we just talked about, we have an illegal screen by number 5. So just like Gerald mentioned, with this player, his stance was excessively shoulder width apart. The contact occurred, if you can see right where the knee is. Okay, so that's what makes this an illegal screen. All right, because the player now goes to the floor, it's not able to get over the screen. We also can take in consideration with this play as well as time and distance. All right, this is a moving player. All right, so the defender has to give the moving player time and distance to also get around that screen.
I like that. When screening a moving opponent, the screener must allow the opponent time and distance to avoid contact. The speed of the player to be screened will determine where the screener may take his or her stationary position. The position will vary and may be 1 or 2 normal steps or strides from the opponent. As Renee pointed out, we didn't have that in this case. We had an illegal screen because there was not compliance with any of that. And in addition, the screener shall stay within his or her vertical plane with a stance approximately shoulder width apart. That wasn't approximately shoulder width apart. And as Gerald pointed out in the last clip we watched, in this case, the wide stance becomes relevant because it's the wide stance that causes the defender who's being screened to go down. Okay. Next.
All right, so if you'll start this one over for me, Quinn. As you can see, we have a post play here. All right, where the white 2 is trying to post up against his defender. All right here we have some contact here. Really can't tell from the film whether it's a necessary contact or not. But here we have the offender posting up. As you can see, all right, from the angle that I'm able to see, we could have a push in the back. As you see, we have the defender doing what we know is a swim move to kind of come over the offender, who he brings his shoulder down, which could be a hold, so the offender's not able to get to the ball on the pass. So here we do have the correct call from the lead. I like his positioning. He's closed down. He could come out a little bit wider to see the play, but he's definitely on the play because that's the only competitive matchup he has at that point.
Perfect. Excellent. That's a classic illustration of freedom of movement where freedom of movement is impeded. And Quinn, I think you got one quick comment about the mechanics here.
Yeah, only other thing here, I mean, as Renee said, great foul call, but now we go to report and we run right through. You can't totally see it, but you can see he starts here to just run right through the middle of the players. Again, we saw this last week. We want to make sure we're coming out around and clearing all the players, getting to the foul reporting area, coming to a stop or pretty close to a stop, reporting our foul. So just, great call. The mechanics at the end could use a little improvement.
This last clip, I'm just going to set it up for you, Gerald, because this is a topic that Gerald has spoken on a number of times, and he's articulated very well, as he always does. But he's spoken on a number of times because it's critical that we have a better understanding as an association of the handoff, as Gerald puts it, between the center official and the trail official, or the transition, however you want to put it, how important it is that the center official pick these plays up quicker than we have been, and the trail official come off of it quicker than we have been. Did I set that up okay for you, Gerald?
Oh, excellent. We'll see as the ball is coming up the court. Trail is in good position. He's still in good position. It's his play. As we get into the front court, let's freeze it as we get into the front court. Right here, if we freeze it right here, as the slot official, we have to pick this play up a little quicker. So we're not going to watch it in the backcourt. We have to have a sense that the ball is coming up our side. As soon as it comes into the front court, we need to really hustle back and pick up this play early. I think if we pick up this play early, we'll see the foul, and there's a freedom of movement play foul on this play right here as we go forward. Right there, that's a foul. And I think if we pick it up early, we'll have a whistle on that play for a freedom of movement foul.
Just a general observation. Some of us, particularly older school officials who were brought up a certain way in officiating, have taken, have been inclined to take the position that, well, there was some contact on that play, but I'm going to be giving the ball back to Red anyhow, so I'm going to pass on the contact. this is not what happened on this. I can assure you that was not the thinking on this particular play. I'm only making that point for those of us old schoolers who came up with that sort of game management philosophy. That philosophy was a bad philosophy when it came out, and it's a bad philosophy now. The problem with this play is it got picked up the coverage got picked up too late. And I think we just didn't see the play from beginning in, as Gerald has already indicated. There was a matchup here, as you'll see coming up back up the floor, and then we're going to leave this alone. I think that the slot official actually looks back here, right here. Okay, so we see as a slot official that this ball was coming up our side of the floor, right, Gerald?
Yes.
So I think our philosophy, our mindset should probably be, hey, I might need to move out and pick this play up, right?
Right now.
But instead, he sees a matchup over in the middle of the floor that he decides to go referee instead. So we have a confusion between the trail and the center on this handoff. And I think had this, what I like to do, and maybe I'm wrong about this, and if y'all think so, say so. What I like to do in the slot is, as soon as that ball comes, I'm actually going to take a step. Instead of turning away from the top, I'm going to go step out and let the trail official know, hey, I'm going to pick this play up right now. You need to look somewhere else. And let the trail official, he doesn't need to referee this matchup, Quinn, in the middle of the floor. If you just point your cursor to where that matchup's occurring.
This one or this one?
No, this one, yeah. Let the trail hustle down there and pick that play up. You okay with that, Gerald?
Yes. And Chuck, if you take it a step further, if you count right now, I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have about 10 players, 9 or 10 players in the picture. The lead has absolutely nothing. So the lead can even rotate and expand his coverage, and he can pick up that matchup right there because he has absolutely nothing. Team officiating.
I'm going to take that a step further, Gerald. You said he can. He has to. He's not refereeing anything else. The other thing I want to point out, because you mentioned this earlier, Gerald, the lead here. I mean, already we have some players in the backcourt. I just want, since we sort of talked about this in the first video, right? The lead's in the backcourt is got, or in the new front court, got all the players boxed in. But then to a point you made earlier, right? The lead knows the ball's coming up on this side of the court. And although we can't quite see him yet, I mean, we can see where he isn't because he's at the lane line waiting for that rotation to happen because he has anticipated that the ball's coming up that side of the court. We're going to have a rotation. Now, of course, then we don't have really a rotation yet, and then the ball goes out of bounds. So we don't have a rotation here, but you made the point earlier of even the lead needs to be aware that this handoff might happen, get to a closed down position so that they can get over there quickly once the ball's in the front court.
Yes.
Very good. I thought it was great. Renee, thank you so much for your participation. You were excellent.
Thank you.
For those of you who are chagrined that my puppies were not invited as guest speakers this week for the clinic, they were not invited, and they're out on the patio right now sulking and having cocktails with my wife. But if y'all want the puppies back, just flood us with emails and we'll see if we can get them back. I have nothing else to say. Renee, you got anything?
No, guys, thank you for everything.
Gerald?
We're good.
Quinn?
I'm great.
Sign off.